Ada for ruining my brother's date night and having him come pick his 3-year-old son up after he dropped him off at my house right before my shift. The only family I have in this city is my brother Kevin, who is a single father of a 3-year-old. Kevin lives in the same city as me, and we don't have any other relatives or family here, only a few acquaintances. In order to keep his child entertained while he is out on dates with other women, Kevin often dumps his child on me at inconvenient moments. Until now, he's taken me out on 4 occasions while expecting me to take care of my nephew. It concerned me since I had work responsibilities, I'm a nurse, and my schedule may be unpredictable, and he caused me problems at work by dropping his child off at my home without informing me beforehand, which annoyed me even more. This happened again last week when he came over at 6 p.m. with my nephew, who had a spare key, and entered my home while I was in the shower before leaving the house quickly. When I stepped out of the shower, I was surprised to find my nephew standing there by himself. His father had just departed, he told me when I inquired about his whereabouts. I knew he wanted me to look after my nephews since I contacted him on the phone numerous times and he did not pick up the phone. I was enraged and on the verge of losing my cool since I was running late for my work. I texted him, informing him that he needed to come pick up his kid immediately, or I will contact the authorities to report him for child abandonment. He responded by pleading with me to suck it up just this once, since he had an important date that he couldn't miss by leaving in the midst of the conversation. I assured him that I was serious and that I would do it, and I gave him 10 minutes to come back home before I left for work. His face was flushed with rage when he returned home and began berating me for ruining his date and forcing him to leave in the midst of it because I couldn't be bothered to miss one stinking shift to babysit my nephew. I informed him that I had never committed to babysit his kid, but he insisted that I do so. This made me chuckle since he claimed that it was an emergency, which is preposterous given that it was a dating night. A long story short, he departed with my nephew but hasn't stopped blaming me for ruining his date and, more importantly, for creating harm to the relationship between him and his future girlfriend, which is unfounded. It's been a week and he's still upset about us, asking that I make it to him and contact his date and give her some tale about why he had to leave in such a huff. I refused, saying that I would not lie to her or tell her anything. Ada, Story 2. Ada for telling my wife that my son is not a replacement for our dead baby. I've known my wife Janica, 39, since we were in high school, and I've loved her since I was 13 years old. When I was 21, I was only a boy, and when my father died, my life spun out of control, and I broke up with Janica. I had to mature quickly in order to support my grandparents, mother, and sister, despite the fact that we came from a wealthy family. I made errors, one of which was not properly treating my new girlfriend Ayana at the time. I ignored her, cheated on her, shouted at her, and was a horrible guy who attempted to explain his nonsense by claiming I miss my father. Every day, I think about him. I attempted to contact out and apologize after receiving counseling and seeing how terribly I had treated her. But it was 2005, and it was simple to vanish, so she was gone. Janica and I have 2 kids, ages 8 and 5. We were planning to have a 3rd child early last year, but my wife was in a vehicle accident involving black ice late in her pregnancy, and our son died before he could be delivered. My wife wept herself to sleep every night for a year. We tried individual and couple counseling, but it didn't work. Then in January, I found out about my son Aryan, 15. His mother died of cancer a month before, and his grandparents couldn't afford to maintain him, so they requested a DNA test. But the boy resembles my father, so he must be my son. I brought him in without the test and my wife swooped on him, showering him with presents, making him special lunches every day, our kids eat cafeteria food, and attempting to assist him with schoolwork to the point that our daughters are envious. It hurts me deeply that I wasn't there for him, that I couldn't provide him affection, change his diapers, assist him when he was unwell, or record movies of him. I want to blame his mother, but he adored her and she's no longer alive, so I can't. We've gone to therapy together, just him and I, and last week it broke my heart when he told the therapist he wishes he'd died instead of his mother because I felt the same way when my father died, and he believes Janica is attempting to replace his mother. I'm sure my wife isn't attempting to do that. So, yesterday, before night, we had a discussion that turned into a fight when I informed her that Aryan is not a substitute for our deceased son and that he is his own person. She became enraged at me, called me in, and hasn't spoken to me since. She is now at her parents' house with Aryan, and will not return later in the day. I'm not sure whether I made a mistake and should apologize. I'd bring it up in therapy, but the therapist is on vacation. I apologize for the lengthy history. It's simply so you understand where I was coming from when I stated what I did. I was attempting to protect Aryan so that I wouldn't feel guilty, but I didn't want to harm Janica. Was I really such a jerk to say it to her? Edit. Things have transpired, and the situation isn't as horrible as I had feared. I'll provide an update here in a week or two. However, I may continue to react to comments until then. Update. As a result, it's been a while since the holidays, and things have much improved. Those of you who are curious about why Janica took Aryan to her parents' house will find out that he loves being there, and that her parents are similar to his grandparents. Because we're brown, Aryan's given name is well known. It's not his real name, but I didn't hesitate to use it since it seemed appropriate. After reading the first few comments, I realized how badly I'd messed up and decided to take my daughters to my in-laws' house. My wife and Aryan were in a bedroom together, and Aryan was suffering a mental breakdown. He was weeping violently in her arms, apologizing profusely and asking with her to bring his mother back home. It horrified me since this was me at the time of my father's death. Janica seems to have sought to talk with him about her smothering him, which he appears to have taken exception to. We were able to get him to settle down and go asleep before our discussion. After I said what I said, I immediately apologized to Janica, telling her that I was too afraid of Aryan and too ignorant to stop and think about what I had said. She pointed out that she was aware that I was anxious since the anniversary of my father's death was approaching this month, but she didn't use that as an excuse for what I said, no matter how out of character it seemed. I suppressed all of my anguish to the extent that I pretended it wasn't also about my child, she said, but she also pointed out that she let our baby's suffering to overtake her for a period of time. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but she isn't, as several of you have pointed out, and you don't even know who I am, so I'll just say she's wrong. I said that I had no clue what to do, and that I would follow her lead if she thought it was the best course of action. She made the decision to continue our couple's counseling sessions in order for us to be able to completely grieve our loss. Fortunately, she forgave me because, even after more than 25 years, she could see that I was really sorry for what I had done. We couldn't allow the girls to be envious of Aryan, Janica, and I decided together. For this reason, when school begins, I'll be up bright and early with her to prepare lunch for the whole class, assist everyone with schoolwork during a study hour, and whatever else comes up. I see now that it wasn't so much that Janica prioritized Aryan above the girls as it was that I didn't step up to assist her in making sure they all got equal attention. Aryan, on the other hand, has agreed to let Janica to accompany us to our therapy sessions, and it is possible that the other girls may follow suit soon. I bought him a huge picture of his mother for Christmas, and I had Janica sign it to indicate that it was from his mother. Because he hugged her and said, "Thank you, Mom," I think it provided him comfort to know that she isn't trying to take the place of his mother. I framed it and displayed it next to his bed in his room. He was especially delighted when Janica inquired about accompanying him on a shopping excursion for family photographs, which he refused to be in before. Even as I type this, he seems to be enjoying himself. He's now playing with his sisters on their new PlayStation 4. I realize that it will take time, but I want him to be happy and to know that he is loved no matter how long it takes. He should be a greater man than I am, and I recognize that I must improve myself in order to better serve Janica's interests. I appreciate all of your remarks. Reading them gave me the jolt I needed to get back on track.